Okay, so here's the final design on the harvest panel and the liner. This is the Mammoth 2, the second one. I went ahead and put double zipper poles on both ends. It's actually quite a bit more expensive. These things are pretty pricey, but it's nice because if you go to harvest it, you open up one side, you open up the other side, and then this will pull back. And notice there's Velcro in two places on this. This basically just swings to the other side, and it catches right there, and it'll hold right there. It's caught on a portion on the other side of the bag. So this panel will stay open for you. There's you just see a slot that's actually the harvest panel where the liner, where you'll access the castings. It looks like a slot, but when you get weight on it, it'll actually open up like this. It'll actually be a circle. It's just the right size. It's about 7 inches across, so you're not going to get excess castings falling out of it. The corners and stuff are really nice on the harvest panel. It comes around the corner. The bag now is somewhat wider. It doesn't taper down as much, so it's actually a little bit bigger. I probably gained a cubic foot by changing the angle of the bag, but that's all right. The bag's a little bit bigger. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. You've already seen the lid. I'm putting another one actually that says VermiBag, and then I actually have the Mammoth on it too. This one is already installed, so I don't want to take it off. And on the newer bags, the next one I'm going to make should be actually a sellable bag. There'll be a ventilation window on this side and a ventilation window on the other side. So there'll be 2 of these actually on the bag, 1 on each side. That way you can open it up and you'll get some cross ventilation going through the bag. And if you want to keep the bag basically fairly tight and get that condensation, keep the moisture in, you can just keep these flaps down and it'll keep the moisture in. That's it. I'm going to take this down. I have a stand built for it now. I actually messed the stand up a little bit, so I'm actually going to make one more stand maybe the next few days. I know exactly the size I need to make it now. And that'll be the stand that I always put bags in. After I make them, I stick them in the stand all the time just to take a look at them, make sure they fit right. And so that'll be the stand I leave empty all the time, and I throw bags in from time to time. So that's it. I think I'll do some final tweaking, I'm sure, here and there, but for the most part, I think I have it pretty well laid out on what I'm going to do. I'm also going to start making templates from the measurements. I took really good measurements on this particular bag, so I'll start making my templates, and that'll help me speed up the process. Right now it's a little bit of a lengthy process to get these things made, but once I have the templates, like I said, it'll cut the time down a lot. So I probably will be taking some pre-orders on this here in about a month. I want to test these bags out for at least a month, but I'll put out a little notice, and I'm not certain on the price range of it. I'm trying to shoot for $199, which would be a great deal for 8 square feet. For certain, I'll put it out for that price for the introductory. It may go up to $225 or something after the introductory is over, but that's still super cheap for the square footage you're getting. Okay, here's the VermiBag Mammoth 2 mounted in the stand. And you can tell here that this angle here isn't nearly as steep as on the Mammoth 1. Mammoth 1, it actually came in quite a ways. You can see what I'm talking about, the angle that's on this side. It's a lot steeper than on the Mammoth 2. So it's actually, like I said, has a little bit more volume than the Mammoth 1 does, but the zipper sits pretty good. I'll show you inside and show you what the liner looks like inside. So here's the inner liner, and then the harvest panel down below. So this will spread out as the material comes in. And then it's the same, of course, on the other side. And you can take the center and just wrap the 2 covers around, and get them both out of the way if you want to open the thing up at the same time. Now I actually got inside of it earlier. I had it full of shredded paper. I probably had 50-60 pounds of shredded paper in there, and then I climbed inside of it, and I'm over 200 pounds and stuff, and just put all my weight on one end, and it's fine. I mean, I was a little bit careful because I don't want to break my neck or something, but it didn't budge. Definitely tightened up and held the weight no problem. So that's the biggest thing I want to test right now, is just run this thing with get a lot of weight into it and just make sure there's no issues that way. I'm sure as far as functionality, it's going to work really well. So I'm going to go ahead and load the Mammoth 2 up. I'm going to put some paper in it and get it ready. I'm going to pull the contents of this VermiMax out. I'll do the same thing. I'll take mainly the top section of this Max with all the worms, probably the top foot, and put that in a separate container, and then take some of the finished compost that's on the bottom and place that in the bottom of the Mammoth 2. Then I'm going to take this mini, I'm going to completely empty it. I'll put the contents of that in, and I may possibly go ahead and take this other Max that I have over here and take the contents of that out. So, I mean, I have a lot of bags and a lot of worms, and filling up 2 of these is putting a huge dent into my the bags that I have. I mean, I'm running out of worms. So I'll show you after I get it set up, see what it looks like. Okay, I went and placed 2 sheets of paper on each side. So this is just a single thickness of paper, 2 of them, 2 single sheets, the full length of this thing. So it ended up being 4 pieces, but 2 on this side and 2 on the other. Then I'm going to start laying some fairly finished compost, probably out of the bottom of this Max. I'll place 4 or 5 inches on the very bottom of it, so it's trying to accelerate this one along too. And then I'll start placing the active worms on top of that. Okay, I placed the contents of the one VermiMax and the VermiMini in here, and then I also pulled out a few tubs of worms I've been separating from castings in there. So I'm going to leave that other Max alone. And I placed some fairly finished castings on the bottom, 4 inches probably, really the cavity of the harvest panel. And then beyond that, it's just the top bedding out of the Max and the top 6 inches or so out of the Mini as well. So, and then I sprinkled some worm chow, the stuff I make with the bird seed, on the top there. So we'll take a look at this tomorrow. As you can tell, there's nothing, nice and clean on the sides. We'll see if we have the same issues with this one as we had with Mammoth 1, as far as worms just climbing all over the place when they're in a new environment like this. I'm going to go ahead and leave the ventilation window open just to give a little extra airflow in here for right now. Go ahead and open up the ventilation window, and we'll take a look at it in the morning.